Coupe du monde de football est qualifiée de contre-attaque ou de contre-offensive gouvernementale, la communication du porte-parole du gouvernement de la République ce 14 juin 2018. Mais la gravité du sujet commande une lecture froide et un éclairage soutenu, tant le champ communicationnel est devenu aujourd'hui une scène où ces paroles de Sénèque n'ont certainement jamais eu autant de résonance. La vie, ce n'est pas d'attendre que l'orage passe, mais c'est d'apprendre à danser sous la pluie. Citation. Amnesty International vient donc de rendre public son rapport 2017-2018 dans les régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest, rapport qu'elle qualifie de situation dans cette partie du pays. Pour le gouvernement camerounais, il s'agit ni plus ni moins d'un tissu de mensonges et d'une attaque de plus à l'intégrité du pays. Face à la presse ce soir donc, et comme pour prendre une fois de plus à témoin la communauté nationale et internationale, le ministre de la Communication, porte-parole du gouvernement de la République, prend la responsabilité de rétablir la vérité. Après son propos liminaire que je vous propose de suivre dans un instant, propos liminaire en français et en anglais, le porte-parole du gouvernement voudra bien prendre deux questions. Pas plus ce soir, il s'agit d'une communication spéciale. Mr. Minister, you have the floor.
I'm very much grateful. Thank you. Distinguished journalists, ladies and gentlemen, 24 hours ahead of the initially announced date, the Amnesty International NGO has once again published an incriminating report against Cameroon and its army in connection with the security situation prevailing in the northwest and southwest region of our nation. As in the previous 2016-2017 report, the 2017 and 2018 edition of Amnesty International report is tainted with filthy lies, hasty inference, unacceptable defamatory tactics that are part of a strategy to harass and destabilize our country in its fight against the terrorist threat. The government of the Republic strongly refutes this so-called report, which, under the pretext of the protection of human rights, is nothing but a bunch of approximations and false allegations. The reason is that the situation on the ground is at odds with what Amnesty International describes. In fact, in these two regions of our country, terrorist gangs claiming to belong to secessionist movements and benefiting from important support from abroad have decided to respond to the dialogue offered by the head of state through violence, crime, destruction of property and public buildings, abduction, followed by assassination and ransom claims, and all other forms of barbaric act prejudicial to the peace and security of the people. Faced with this situation, the state only recourse was nothing but an appropriate response by virtue of its sovereign duty to preserve the territorial integrity of the nation, to preserve civil peace and protect the population and their properties. With regard to the content of this so-called report, I would like to state a case which expresses the obvious bad faith of our prosecutors of the moment. According to Amnesty International, the Cameroon Defense and Security Forces have committed serious abuses, some of which, to name a few, targeted the civilian population of the Dedi locality in the southwest region. As it is, what really took place in this area, and which is obvious to any observer, is that the people of Haiti were taken hostage by terrorists who had enslaved them for several days and set up their base in the area. The Defense and Security Forces, informed of this situation, intervened to free this population and restore their legitimate right to enable them live in peace and to carry out their day-to-day business. Instead of reporting this situation, Amnesty International has preferred to endorse unjustified accusation with small lightness, condoning with criminal acts to which the authors of 2017-2018 report paradoxically attempt to confer credit and legitimacy. In so doing, it is deplorable to notice that Amnesty International is taking on the responsibility of compromising by itself the credit that a world-renowned organization should have. The caricature mentioned several times of dangerous criminals pretended as peaceful protesters facing the armed forces with their bare hands is simply bewildering when we know, if only by the images broadcasted by the terrorists themselves, that these are armed groups equipped with different war machines, including rocket launchers. Similarly, how can we understand that the ransacking of schools, the burning of dormitories with defenseless young children, or the physical assault of children be considered as a simple act and tactic of civil disobedience? One can also wonder about the methodology used by the authors of this so-called report to arrive at the conclusion which are as absurd as those delivered to us here, when it is known, if we are to go by what was said by this organization itself, the Amnesty International would have interviewed 100 of individuals whose identity and representativeness on the ground remain unknown. There are therefore strong reasons to believe that this is only a question of duplication, suddenly created from scratch, engaging into dubious collaboration in order to carry out oriented data collection, while in the field of investigation, it is no news that in such a case, only factual elements lend credibility to results and not the other way around. Amnesty International also mentions satellite footage of burnt and ransacked villages. But still, it would be necessary to evidence who are the perpetrators of such violence. The defense forces, on their part, have irrefutably evidence showing that crimes committed by terrorists are instrumentalized to lead the opinion to believe the contrary, thereby tending to rather present the executioner as a victim. This is not the first time that Amnesty International is so misguided in its methodology and the interpretation of its various observations on its surveys concerning Cameroon. One thing is certain, in that such a methodological distortion of approximative inference give no credit to this so-called report. Cameroon is calling on the national and international community to bear witness to the fact that this maneuver to misinform, certainly in a bid to destabilize our country, cannot prosper in the face of a people that is united and standing behind its leader, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya. Moreover, and understandably, Cameroon does not expect to be instructed by anyone from outside to take responsibility when evidence of abuse is established, to severely punish any misconduct from the military in operational zone or elsewhere. It should therefore be understood that abuses are not the norm among our defense and security or their trademark. That said, can we admit that a regular army be in this way put on the same footing with criminal and terrorist group? Can a regular army in a situation of right and duty to defend the territorial integrity and protect the population and their goods be weighed against a horde of bloodthirsty terrorists who rape, burn, scam, and transfer their crimes to the account of supposed exaction committed by the army? In such an attitude, not a gruesome nonsense that tell us that we are in the presence of a real conspiracy. This will be enough to enlighten any observer on our opponent's project to stigmatize and demonize our defense and security forces. As a matter of fact, no one in the world will afford to allow kidnapping, racketeering, and rape, looting and murder, blasphemy of symbols and emblems of the Republic, in short, to let unpunished all those disastrous panoply worthy of a syndicate of crime and the severe hostility directed against our fatherland to flourish under the very eyes of legitimate authorities and as a panacea in the face of such criminal action that no civilized country can tolerate, Amnesty International is singing the song of dialogue as if we were not aware of its value and virtues. Dialogue, yes, but then what would be the substance of such a dialogue? The partitioning of a territory whose unity has been conquered through long struggle and harsh coalition for more than a century, and bequeathed to us by the founding father of the nation. Dialogue, yes, but when? With whom should we dialogue? Should we dialogue with gangs of terrorists whose sole purpose is to partition our nation above it all by sowing death and desolation to the detriment of all the core value of the Republic and against innocent civilians? This is possible nowhere in the world. In any case, the head of state, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and behind him, the entire nation reiterate their support and renew their congratulations to our defense and security forces for their sense of honor, their bravery, their selflessness, and their professionalism in the execution of their mission. On behalf of the government, I would like to reassure all of our population that the situation in the northwest and southwest region is closely monitored for a quick return to normal. To conclude, allow me to inform the national and international opinion that the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Paul Biya, has just instructed that a national plan of solidarity with our compatriots from the region concerned be implemented. To this end, in the next few days, a government mission will meet our friends in Nigeria to create for their return to their respective locality.